Welcome to the Explainer. Now, if you've been anywhere near the news lately, you've for sure seen the endless headlines about the trial between Elon Musk and Sam Altman. But today, we are looking way past all that celebrity courtroom drama. We're going to peel back those highly polished PR narratives and uncover the raw, completely unfiltered reality of building frontier AI. Because honestly, what this trial actually gives us is a fascinating accidental blueprint of the future.
Okay, let's dive into this. Every era has a moment when the polished surface cracks just enough for the inner workings to show. This trial isn't really a simple story about winners and losers getting handed a verdict. No, it is an incredibly rare, unprecedented look at the half-finished scaffolding that is quite literally holding up the technology of tomorrow. It's a moment where the seams of a massive, world-changing organization are just fully visible to the public. Part 1. Beyond the legal drama. So the crucial point is that to truly understand what's going on here, we have to look past the courtroom verdicts. We need to focus on the structural realities of rapid, mind-bending technological scaling. We're examining the intense improvisation and the immense tension required to build something that literally did not exist before. This is a story about how human beings navigate the creation of a massive, world-altering technology while the very ground they are standing on is actively shifting underneath their feet. Part 2. The ambiguous early days.
Let's rewind the clock a bit to 2015. Back then, artificial intelligence was mostly just a research frontier, and the concept of AGI, artificial general intelligence, that was something reserved for late-night philosophical debates, definitely not boardroom showdowns. The founding idea was incredibly simple, yet just impossibly ambitious. Build advanced AI, do it safely, ensure it's for everyone, and absolutely avoid commercial capture. Looking back, it's almost funny how fast that open part of OpenAI got tested by reality. But as you can imagine, these early goals were incredibly blurry. Different founders looked at those exact same words and saw entirely different futures. In those early days, organizations run on shared enthusiasm, not shared definitions. And ambiguity works great, well, until it suddenly doesn't.
Part 3. Physics overrides philosophy. Now, what's really interesting here is that this is the exact moment where philosophical ambiguity hits a very literal physical breaking point. Here is the harsh reality. Traditional tech startups, they scale cheaply on whiteboards and curiosity. But frontier AI, it absolutely doesn't scale like cheap software. It requires industrial, hyperscale infrastructure. We are talking massive, power-hungry GPU clusters and an astronomical amount of capital. I mean, a single model training run can easily cost tens of millions of dollars. Suddenly, the game completely changed from, hey, let's try this cool research idea, to we need to go buy an entire data center.
And this physical reality forced a really harsh economic one. A nonprofit structure designed for a small, idealistic research lab fundamentally was not built to handle an industrial-scale AI operation. It's actually a fascinating pattern we've seen over and over throughout tech history. Bell Labs hit this wall, Xerox PARC hit it, early Google hit it, and OpenAI, they hit it right on schedule. The sheer undeniable physics of the compute curve completely rewrote the rules of their organization.
Part 4. The fragile middle ground.
To survive this massive new resource requirement without entirely losing its original soul, they had to create a workaround. They built this highly unusual structure combining nonprofit oversight with a capped for-profit subsidiary. And it's vital to understand that this wasn't some grand, flawless, theoretical master plan they drew up on day one. It was pure improvisation. It was just a functional workaround designed to raise the billions of dollars required by the physics of AI, while desperately trying to keep one foot firmly planted in their original idealism. And this brilliantly illustrates the intense core conflict it created. You essentially have two incredibly fragile systems carrying entirely different expectations. On one side, the nonprofit demands moral clarity, safety, and careful, deliberate pacing. Meanwhile, the startup subsidiary demands speed, massive capital, and operational control. As the stakes grew higher and the models got smarter, these two sets of expectations didn't just casually disagree, they violently collided.
Part 5. The human fingerprints. Because beneath all of these complex corporate structures and billion-dollar data centers, there are actual people. As the work rapidly accelerated and public attention intensified, founder alignment began to seriously strain. The mission simply became heavier than anyone had anticipated.
When you read about Elon Musk wanting 51% control during this era to ensure safety and pacing, while others like Sam Altman and Ilya Sutskever fiercely wanted independence, well, it's really easy to view it through the lens of a soap opera. But the evidence suggests it wasn't born out of personal malice. It was structural resistance. It was the exact moment when that original blurry ambiguity reached its breaking point under the crushing weight of their own success. The trials surface incredibly intimate documents, like personal diaries and text messages. And these artifacts, they don't reveal some grand scandalous conspiracy. What they reveal is deep human uncertainty. They show us accidental historians at work. What we see in real time is that institutional evolution rarely feels like a brilliant, cohesive strategy when you are living it. Actually, it feels a lot more like pure, overwhelming improvisation while carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Let's move to part 6 and see how this builds into why this impacts you. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is just a Silicon Valley boardroom drama. What does this actually have to do with me? Well, the organization shaped by these exact structural strains is currently building the foundation for the next era of modern life. The outcomes of these boardroom compromises are going to directly influence global education, how we practice medicine, basic human communication, the entire future of labor, national defense, and literally even human creativity. This is about the systems that will govern decisions made at a planetary scale. Which brings us to the really hard questions we are left with. How do you actually stay true to an idealistic, open mission when the physical cost of your progress suddenly demands industrial-scale, multi-billion-dollar resources? How do you raise the massive amounts of capital you absolutely need to survive, without quietly, inevitably, rewriting the very values that brought your team together in the first place? And ultimately, how do you build a structure that can survive its own massive success, and not just its failure? You see, the trial didn't create these questions. It merely dragged them kicking and screaming out into the light. What we are witnessing right now is a real-time snapshot of humanity trying to figure out how to govern industrial-scale intelligence before it's too late. It's a fascinating, deeply messy process, and it's one we all need to be watching very, very closely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.